Hello, Starseeds and magical friends, and welcome to the Truth, Freedom, Beauty, and Love Show. I am your host, Rachel Z, and today's guest, I have my beautiful friend, DD Starr, here with me today. And we are going to talk about stories that inspire beauty, as well as all the themes of the Bohemian Revolution, of which this show is entirely inspired by. So, my quick introduction to DD was this was back in a past life of mine of when I was a model. And now I'm reemerging back into being a model. I think me and Didi talked about how you're always all of those selves all the time. I feel like it's whatever you're choosing to play, like, like a record on a song. So I first met Didi when I was doing a very burlesque type of photo shoot. And I think we'll get into this in the show too, but modeling, I don't think it's quite it is an art form. So knowing how to pose, how your eyes look at the camera. So Didi was like the posing coach, how to move and model and present yourself in such a way to kind of bring out that like inner goddess energy. And so I thought it would be a wonderful idea to have her as a guest on the show to talk about such themes. So Didi, over to you to give your introduction as well as your astro stack. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yay.
So yeah, my top three, I'm a Libra sun, Aries moon, and Aquarius rising.
Oh my gosh,
So
love it.
yeah, I'm a lot of air with some fire, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, a firecracker.
Yeah, when I found out my top three and what they all were, it made me feel so much better about myself. It was like, oh,
It makes sense now,
wonder
right?
I'm like this. um, but I'm a dancer. I'm a dance teacher,
Yes.
as well as I produce live entertainment, and I'm a femininity coach as well. So I kind of do
All
all
of
of the
it.
above. Hence, I love your bohemian,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, the
bohemian.
revolution coming back
I'm in
to
it.
yes,
Yeah.
you are. You're living it right now. You look like like Moulin Rouge right now. So can you tell me a little bit more about being a femininity coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, just, being a dancer my whole life, as well as it before I became a dancer professionally, I was a wardrobe stylist. So
Oh,
I
that's
always,
cool.
yeah, so I went to school for dance, or I grew up dancing. My mom is a ballerina and my dad a guitar player, and they were hippies. So I fully just grew up watching my parents perform all the time.
That's so
My
cool.
mom was my first ballet teacher at the age of 3 years old. So I've literally,
I
yeah,
I
I've been
love
dancing my
that.
whole life.
I love that. Like you're like embodied into it, like grew up in it. I love that. So
Yeah, I really did. But so my world has always just been a lot of women. My parents got divorced when I was young, so I was really brought up with mostly just a single mom.
yeah.
And being in the fashion world, being in the dance world,
Mhm.
are very predominantly female. And then when I stumbled into burlesque, that's when I really got into,
Oh my gosh.
embodying all of the facets that are involved in being, a female. And
So how did you
so,
find burlesque in terms of like a specific style when it comes to dancing or performance? I think
yeah,
burlesque is even more there's a level of acting, I think, in burlesque as opposed to
yeah.
other styles of dance. But how did you find burlesque, or did burlesque find you?
It kind of found me, I guess, in a wild way. But as soon as I turned 18, I was always curvier too. So I never really belonged in like the proper professional 5, 6, 7, 8 dance world.
Hmm.
Um, but I was always an amazing performer, and I loved it my whole life.
Yeah.
So it was, my love. But I knew, well, at 18, I knew, with a small n, we'll say, um, that I could never be a professional dancer. So I needed to
Mhm.
see immediately when I was finishing high school, what's my backup plan? Because I'm not going to make it in the dance world professionally. So I went to school for fashion because I just loved all the hair and makeup of
Yes.
competitive dance and
Yes.
performances and rehearsals. And, from the age of 10, I was just the go to beauty girl. So I would do all the lashes and all the hair, and I'd help my dance teacher pick out the costumes for all the different performances.
Oh my
So that's why I
gosh, I
went to
love
school
that.
for fashion.
Oh
Yeah, it
my
was super
gosh.
cool.
Is there anything that you worked on, like a project that you especially love that you worked on in terms of like the
Style.
whole styling it? Yeah.
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 Um, well, it actually leads into my burlesque story. I worked for this amazing Canadian magazine, and it was actually called Amazing Canada. Was the name. It was so old. This is so many moons
I'm
ago.
trying to think. I'm like, I think I know what you're talking about.
It was a South Asian magazine, and they came
Yeah.
out quarterly. But I really love them, and they gave me a shot as a wardrobe stylist when I was, doing more windows and merchandising as my career. But they would borrow clothes from French
Oh,
Connection, which was like the company I was working for at the time.
I remember French
And
Connection. Yes.
yeah. And so, yeah, there was a friend of mine that worked there. And so that's how I got my feet wet into the
Yeah.
styling world. But they always hired the kind of same creative team,
Mm.
quarterly as they, had their issues come out. And so I really bonded with, this creative glam squad. And I loved the makeup artist, and she was a
Yeah.
Latin dancer.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Ari
Yeah.
Saffron, such an influential woman in my life, and she's
Oh,
one of my ride or dies to this day.
oh,
Um, but
I
yeah,
love that.
she was the makeup artist, I was the stylist, and she basically came up to me and, said, "I want to do this 8-week burlesque workshop, and there is nobody on the planet that I could even consider asking other than you.
Wow.
Um, and I really don't want to do this alone. Will you please like sign up and do this, this workshop?"
I love that.
Yeah, it was super cool. And at that point, I was 28 years old, and I had realized that I had just stopped dance completely and just dove into fashion. I danced for fun and, would do some small go-go dancing gigs and things.
Yeah, yeah. But you were
Other
like
than
working. You were like,
yeah,
yeah, you're
I really
working.
just was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go into fashion," and I loved it. I was fulfilled and happy, but I was like, "Damn, I haven't been in a dance class for 10 years. Absolutely,
Wow.
I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this like class with you." And after even just the first class, never mind the whole workshop, after the first class, I was like, "Oh my God, I've never belonged in the dance world, but this is where I belong." Like, I just didn't know that this was even like available, and it was an option. And my teacher, the legendary Coco Framboise, we immediately bonded, and after the 8-week workshop, she just started hiring me to do all these like cool bougie fancy amazing gig, and I was like her
Oh,
back dancer. So I was a bonbon, that's what they called me.
I
It was
love
so
it. Oh my gosh. Like
yeah, and
you
actually,
totally
Ariane, the makeup artist, was a bonbon as well. So it was really nice that I had a friend that I loved and trusted to go down into the magical rabbit hole of the burlesque world.
I love that. That's
Um,
so good. So it all started from that like workshop and it like took off from there.
yeah,
Just kind of like so where are you right now, Dee?
I'm in Palm Springs, California.
Oh my gosh. So what's the difference in vibe? So when did you go there? And then what is the difference in terms of like dance community in like Palm Springs versus like let's say Toronto
Oh
or like
yeah, well,
yeah.
Toronto's just like a big, huge, massive city that's,
Yes.
so creative and really supportive. I'm so grateful to have been born and raised in Toronto, actually. I'm so
Oh,
grateful. I love Toronto so much. Like it really is my hometown for sure.
we still love you too, Dee.
Yeah, and like it'll always be in me, right? Like all of these
Yeah.
aspects are always still a part of me. But California was always the goal.
You look California though. Like you
Right.
literally like look like you belong there.
I really love it here. Yeah. And I picked Palm Springs because I just wanted a town that was a little bit more affordable to live in versus LA, the
Mm,
big
yeah.
city. I kind of moved from Brooklyn, so I kind of had the experience of, the big American city grind. And New York ate me up and spit me out. So I was like, I need more of a peaceful. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to live there for a little bit, but
Yeah.
um,
I was in New
the
York a little bit too, actually.
really
Yeah, before I moved to Toronto, so I'm originally from the prairies. I'm like
okay,
prairie girl, like Winnipeg, Manitoba. I moved out to Toronto, but before that, I was staying with my girlfriend who she was like a dancer for life. She like went to Alvin Ailey. She was in Mamma Mia here in Toronto as well. So
wow.
yeah, so she was basically in New York, and so I stayed with her for like a few months, and like was like trying to make it as a dancer and like book gigs and stuff. But New York's very it was a lot of fun, but I feel like it's probably a different vibe than California,
Absolutely.
like in
Yeah.
terms of how like auditions are, or even how like the creative community I suppose is,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I feel like it's just a lot more competitive and like that big city kind of vibe. And not to say you're all going to be like friends with everybody that you're competing with for jobs, but there can be a level of like, you know, do you have anything to say about that, Didi? Or
Yeah, I just think that Americans, just like America in general, whether New York or Canada, it's just, or New York or California, it's just more hardcore. Like
yeah,
the extremes are like farther, like they're more extreme. The
yeah,
the spectrums are longer and wider. Like we are very much Canada and the States the same in a lot of ways, you know.
yep,
Um, but I would say that's the difference. So
totally.
yeah, I picked Palm Springs because I wanted more of a simple life. I also knew, I mean, it is a mid-century modern mecca of the world. Like you
Mm,
ride your bike around town and it's just like you're in the 1960s. Like
I
it
love that.
is this like it's this incredibly unique small town. Like the
Hmm.
population of Palm Springs is 100,000 people, so it's really small here.
Interesting. But like
Yeah,
I feel like it's got a lot of notoriety, or like not, I don't know if that's the right word, but like
it does because it's this legendary place where there's
yeah.
no place like it on earth. And the history, I mean, there's so much history to the town, but a big part of the reason why, it's on the map kind of for, a cool place to visit in the world is because all the Hollywood studios,
Ah.
on the actors and directors and things in their contract, they weren't allowed to travel more than 100 miles away from Hollywood. So this is right
Oh.
at that like sort of mark where all of Hollywood could come and play. And this town was built on scandal with like the Rat Pack and Marilyn Monroe and JFK, and like that's they all
Love.
came to play
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
Um, so I fell in love with the town because I mean I just grew up loving and admiring all of that stuff.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was affordable
That's
to live here, and it's a really creative town. So even though it's a small town for sure, it's incredibly creative and
like those
um,
small towns can sometimes have like, I don't know, it's because it's smaller, you're able then to maybe make connections you wouldn't
yeah,
otherwise. And you like then collab, and like things can like, I don't know,
yeah,
you can jam with people a little bit more, as opposed to
yeah,
being like a big city and people are like a little bit more competitive with each other, as opposed to like, let's get into a garage and jam, make music and stuff like
yeah.
that.
There's a community here for sure, and
Love.
everybody's really loving and supporting of one another, and we do kind of all know each other. So it has all of those aspects, but it's just there's a lot of really cool artists, and it's a hardcore music town.
Yes.
Coachella is here. All of the venues have amazing sound systems. Some of the best musicians in the
Yeah.
world come here, and we have amazing singers that live here, and there's not a lot of dancers. So I was like, there's this
Huh.
amazing big music town. There wasn't a burlesque school. There wasn't a full-time burlesque dancer living in the town. I was like the first
Oh.
one. Then a woman named Caitlin came. There was like a Southern California traveling troupe that
Mm,
would
mm.
do a show here every like 3 or 4 months, but there was no
Like hometown Palm Springs, your
yeah, there
theater.
was
Yes.
none of it.
I find that
Um,
ironic though, because considering like I love Marilyn Monroe, by the way, and you are like you're like that vibe of Marilyn Monroe because as I told you before the call, that, you know, she was born Norma Jean, but she created Marilyn Monroe. And so this idea of like having this persona, being able to like play and just dress up, and how that can be so healing to our like inner children, our inner selves, our like all of that kind of stuff. And that brings me around to my question for you, Dee Dee, which is there a story from when you were a child or like a teenager, like, you know, when things were like totally less complicated and you just had like hopes and dreams, and like, so was there a story that inspired you to that still resonates with you like to this day and inspires you?
Yeah, I have a bunch of them because, I have been dancing my whole life. But to go back to like, really young,
Yeah.
like childhood me, like when I was like 4 and 5,
Yeah.
kindergarten sort of age, I grew up on like a dead end street in Toronto. So we were all just allowed to play on the street.
Oh
And
man.
at the end of like at the dead end, there was a park. And so
Oh, sick.
yeah, I would play on the street with my friends all the time. And all I ever wanted to do was like make dances and performances. And my dad bought me like a record player that I could plug in on people's, like either in their garages or, on their front porch if they had an outlet. And I'd bring my record players. And
I
I
love
remember
that.
once, like one of our neighbors bought like a refrigerator and a stove. So there were all these big boxes out in the garbage. And I was like, no, we're going to put a whole act together. And I turned the big boxes into houses and we all popped out of them. And we did shows for our
Oh,
parents on the street.
I love that. I love that. We are from a generation, DD, where like that was a thing. Like me and my friends used to put together like epic like talent show performances, like learn all the dance moves from music videos and like
Yep,
redo them, and then like do all the same outfits and like
it's the best.
oh my gosh, we need to bring more of that back. I think well
I agree.
ultimately though, like my I have a TikTok show actually. I go live on TikTok like most evenings, and I like wear cosplay and I like read comic books. And so there's a lot between like cosplay and burlesque. I think that's the same because there's that you're putting on a character and then like you get to play as that character for a bit. Is there a character that you have liked? Have you created a specific type of character that you like is your go-to when you
Yeah, it's
perform?
Miss DD Starr.
Who I'm talking to right now.
It's this. Yeah, like my normal person name is like Diana Starch, and my burlesque persona is Miss Dee Starr.
I love
And
that.
I love one of the main reasons why I love burlesque is that there is so much character involved. And that's actually how I feel like is a big part of how I can serve humanity is actually creating a safe space for women to play with sexuality and femininity without the heavy loaded term of let's be sexy, and throw that right out of the window and let's play character, right? So it's just like imagination and play. And
Oh,
I can
yes.
embody it to the maximus if I'm doing a show. But even today in talking with you, like I put on my pink lips. That's a
Of
signature
course.
Dee thing. Like Dee Dee even wears, like more of a rose scent, whereas Diana
Mm.
wears more of a vanilla. So there's like all these different ways that I
Oh,
can embody.
yeah.
And at the beginning, Dee Dee Starr was everything that Diana Starr thought she couldn't be. I was like, I'm just going to create this amazing character with this name, and this is what she's going to be. And it was just all play and imagination and
Oh my
alter ego,
gosh. That's so
right?
oh my gosh. So when you were just speaking, because like I'm working on a comic book. I don't know if you know this, but
No, oh, that's so
that's my whole side. My side gig is that I'm creating science fiction fantasy series, and the book three is like a graphic novel. It's like I wrote it when I was 14 about me and my best friend saving the world, or like hot dragon warrior chicks from like ancient Atlantis, and we like have ethereal armor. And so what you're talking about is like you literally put together your like superhero identity,
yeah.
you know, like because I was doing an astro for like Wonder Woman. So for example, like Diana Prince, Wonder Woman's alter ego, she
Mm,
celebrates her birthday a different day than like Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
because they're different
They're
people,
different.
right? So
Yeah.
so if you were looking to look at the astro for Diana Prince, it's not the same as the astro for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman's clearly an Aries woman. She is an Aries, like she's born at like the beginning of like the astro chart. Like her character, her creators of that character gave her that birthday, right?
I love that. I didn't
Right.
know that. That's super
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And with my name being Diana, she's obviously been one of my favorite superheroes.
Legit.
And
And like
yeah, I
that
love
time
her.
period, right? Like the 50s, like the wartime era, and you just had like these women's of like beacons of hope to
Mm.
and just what are we fighting for if not beauty and love and all of like those juicy things of like life and stuff. So that leads me into my next question for you, Didi, which is music being a huge communicator of truth and beauty and all of those beautiful things. Do you have a song that you're vibing with right now that you're making dances to with right now, or something that's like really in your like consciousness?
Yeah, yeah. Right now, the song that I'm like loving and dancing to a lot, it's called Moment. It's by Matt Mitt. What's his last name? Orhan.
Oh,
Yeah. So the song is Moment, and then his name is Mhmutorhan. It's such a good song.
I can find it. Oh my gosh, I'm not spelling that right. So moment, spell his name again for me.
Mahmut
H-E-T.
Orhan.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
And it's the
Ooh.
remix that I like. I think the remix is better.
Oh my
But
gosh.
it's so good.
Don't get me started on like the right kind of remix. Because there are sometimes remixes that are not good remixes, and some
It's the
remixes that are
truth.
epic. So let's see. Let me see if I can play it.
So good.
Ooh, I'm gonna share my screen and we can watch it on
Yeah.
YouTube. Share sound. Tech, you actually worked for me this time.
Yeah.
So here, let's listen. Is this a song?
Yeah.
Oh, the bass on it.
Right. And the words are so beautiful and the beat is sick.
For you, I know more than a throwaway. You steal my time and you're smoking it. The words you're using are violent. I sell my charm just to pay my rent. How far will I go? I'm wondering. Till I'm out of touch with reality. And wish for someone else in this life to be.
I'm gonna stop here so I don't get copyright flagged. But
Uh,
I was that's an awesome song. How did you find this song?
I'm
How?
obsessed with him. He and how I found this DJ music producer
Mm.
was through Sophie Tucker, who I'm also a huge, massive fan of. I dance to a lot of Sophie Tucker music in my
Oh,
shows. And
love it.
so yeah, that's how I found him. So he does a lot of, yeah, he works with Sophie Tucker a lot. So that's how I found him.
Making notes because I'm learning how to DJ, right? So if they
Oh
put me in
yeah, go
some
down
tracks.
those wormholes. They're so good.
Oh yeah, and it's crazy too because I was I was asking my hubby to make this playlist of like the zodiac wheel. So
Mhm.
like each song represents a sign and like mixing them into each other, kind of like people, right? Because you're like depending on where you are in the chart, like you being Libra, are you more of you're October Libra, so you're
And
kind of like in the middle. So you're like very Libra anyway.
I really identify Libra hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think though too, something to note in terms of your astro chart though, like some astrologers attribute like your rising sign as being more of like how people perceive you. So people like probably see you more as an Aquarius. But I don't know if that's the case. I have a feeling like because you have like other things that are going on that like exalt your Venus, that
yeah.
comes through much more. Because I don't really see you much as like an Aquarius rising. I feel like your ability to flow like wherever and like talk to whoever probably is like your Aquarius rising.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I totally went on a different, where was I going? Oh yes, it was the zodiac wheel. But what I did,
Yeah.
but when I chose the songs, they were not harmonically in key with each other. So I made them very difficult for him to mix into each other because we had to like shift the song a bit so that they could like cut like come together, like the BPMs and things like that. So that's all like kind of similar to, I would say, dance and life, our relationships too. I don't know if you found that. Have you found that with students that you've worked with that their relationships with others and themselves improve because of like working with you?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, the relationship with themselves improves, right? Because I'm just creating this safe space. And I have like sort of three kind of archetypes that are my basic
Mm.
101 that I like to kind of, tell women to play within this wheelhouse that like Coco Framboise taught me many
Oh,
moons ago.
wow.
And so literally what I'm teaching is like my own process that I've done. And it's amazing when you give yourself time and um effort and you
Yes.
dedicate to I'm gonna honor my femininity and this is how I'm gonna do it. Yeah, life just becomes more fun. You flow
That's key.
more. We're
Yes.
ready to receive more. I'm less about control and I'm more about, the true huntress just stands and everything comes to her.
Oh, I love
Right?
that. I
So
love that.
yeah,
I
it's
also love
even
that you
that
brought up
power.
archetypes too, because archetypes, because that like you're talking about like almost like the psychology of like why we need to actually dance and embody those like essences of ourselves. Like
Yeah.
because if you pretend that they don't exist, they like you end up, and I realized that I used to do this before I got into modeling, where I would almost like project things onto beautiful women, let's say.
Yeah.
Like I've been on the other end of like hating on because you're jealous, or um all of those like lower frequency vibrations that come with like love or possession or like things like that. Like
Yeah.
why are you looking at her? Because but I've come all the way around to realize like beauty is beauty, and it's just there's a like, and love isn't possession.
Yeah.
So it's about you can appreciate beauty, and it can come from a really it doesn't have to be this like creepy place, you
Right.
know
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, I love the native Indian proverb where, the grandfather is talking to his grandson and he, tells the story and asks, it all depends on what wolf you're feeding. And so
mm,
as I'm doing my transformation from, Diana to Dee, and that could be with no makeup on and I'm just putting on my rose oil, but I'm always constantly questioning myself because in the beauty world and the
mm.
world of femininity, you can create monsters. I
Yes.
think it's the shadow aspect of ourselves. So I love that you're like, this is an aspect of me that I'm aware of and I've accepted and I've loved. And then that's where transmutation happens. But
Yeah.
it's really important for us to acknowledge these shadow sides and, our jealousy, our insecurity. I wish that I looked at my body all of the time and loved every
Yeah.
last minute of it, but I don't. And that's okay, right? Like it's
Yep.
okay that I
Yep.
don't. And that's why I love when I'm getting people to dance. And so many people are afraid of dance, right? Like they
Yes.
don't, they're just petrified. And it's the scariest thing ever and then to dance and be sexy at the same time, like as a woman, those are really scary things to do. But that's when play and imagination
Yes.
and bringing out, different aspects of yourself. And I just say, that's why I love that you're wearing cat ears, because I'd say that I actually identify more with feline
Oh,
than
girl, I do
it's
too.
like an
Yeah.
umbrella. I'm like, I'm not human, I'm feline. And
Wow. I mean, like, there's some truth to that, I feel like, for some of us, because, you
Right?
know,
There
the
is. But I love the feline because it's such a perfect example of, and we are all of the felines, and you can identify more as a jaguar or a kitten or a lioness, and we are all of them, right? And especially when women are insecure, then immediately one of my go-to things is we're going to play cats. And immediately, girls will lean more towards, oh, well, I'm a soft little kitten, and then there's other women who are like, oh, I'm a lioness.
Oh,
And
yes.
then we'll play and I'll have a song that's more kitten and we'll move in softer kitten ways. And then I'll have a lioness song where we're like, ugh,
Oh, I love
and
that.
it helps women get out of their body, their minds, their own personal judgments, the judgments of their neighbors, and it completely. And then
Oh my
you
gosh, yeah.
practice the play, and then you just embody it, and it's so feminine,
Oh my
right? I feel like
gosh.
feline is so feminine.
It so is, and it's so funny because I took drama when I was in high school, and my final thesis in high school was cats. I did
Let's. Oh my god,
yeah,
I love you so much. That is so
I did
cool.
Macavity. There's nobody like Macavity. That song with like
I
my
love
girlfriend,
it.
and we did the little dance and like sang and stuff. But like that particular musical literally only meant to be a stage show. Like there are some shows I feel like they are meant to be a live production, not a movie. It's meant to be live. Oh,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite like musical live production? You do.
I have a few. Definitely Cats. Like
Oh
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
actually the first like live Broadway
Oh, is
show
it
I'd ever seen. And I got to see it at the Winter Garden Theater in New York. And I was a little girl and it was just so,
that?
yeah. And I've
I got
seen it
chills.
a
Yeah.
million times. As soon as it starts, I'm sobbing and the cats are crawling out of the audience. And I'm just crying.
Oh, Memory Live is like nothing else. Like when she like it's yeah, nothing else.
So
And it's just
good,
so,
right?
and it also just like the dancers in that production. You
Right.
like you are literally a triple threat if you're in Cats.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right? And the costuming and the way each cat moves differently, like they don't
Yes.
have the same cat
Nope.
move. Like they all have their unique personality. Oh, yeah, I
So
loved it.
good. So good.
And I went to Paris and I got to go to the Moulin Rouge. So that's another where I literally, as soon as I
Oh,
walked in the building, as soon as I saw the windmill, I started crying.
oh my God.
I felt the energy of, 135 years of
Oh,
history. And it was so beautiful.
oh my gosh.
So
That's
yeah, Cats was
amazing.
my first. So that was really empowering. But then as an adult, it was
How
definitely
synchronistic this is because of the name of this show and like
right.
just oh
And cats, and I love cats. Like
I
it's all
it's
pretty
just it's
wild
and
and
then not
magic.
everyone loves cats. Like I
No.
no, and people are like, why? Like, what is this? It's a musical. It's not supposed to make sense. It's
Right?
symbolic.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
Grisabelle and her like the fact that she was an old show cat and like having to say goodbye to the like the spotlight and being and I'm like, oh my
Oh,
gosh.
yeah.
I feel so those are good, those are amazing options in terms of like musicals and musical theater. And I was because doing astrology and stuff, I went down some rabbit holes when it came to like MGM Grand and stuff
Mhm.
because I found out that JFK, Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World, and C.S. Lewis all like died on the same day, but like no one knows about Aldous Huxley or C.S. Lewis because everyone was like all fussed about JFK. But like if you think about the works of C.S. Lewis, which is Narnia, which like hello,
Yeah.
and the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Portals, and Magic, and Aslan the Lion, right? And Brave New World, of course, like was dystopic, but he also had people aren't familiar, but Aldous Huxley had like an antidote to Brave New World that he wrote called The Island, where it was more about like Eastern philosophy about how do we get out of that dystopian future? It's through like more like mystical stuff.
Oh, I need to read that book. I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
about it.
yeah. But I feel like
Ooh.
there's a whole like I feel like it's just strange because they all died within 8 hours of each other. Crazy, right? And then I found out that Aldous Huxley also wrote some scripts for MGM. So I was just like, which ones? But I don't know.
Yeah.
But MGM, then I went this rabbit hole about how big they were with musicals, like Singing in the Rain and all of like those those were like my favorite movies, right? If I think back to like
Yeah.
Disney and the songs in those movies, like that's what makes it. Like you like I would once you hear a song and like a musical and you love a scene in it, that song will like literally just like be in you forever forever, and like you'll
It
hear it
is.
and
It's imprinted like into your DNA kind of thing.
totally. Yeah. Do you have a song
Yeah.
like that, Didi, off the
Yeah.
top of your head?
Which one's my favorite?
Yeah, like off the top of your head, because there's probably like a bunch of them. But if
Oh
something were to
yeah.
come through,
From a favorite musical of mine.
musical, yeah, from a musical, all
Funny, I
musicals.
can't remember the name of the song, but it's from Rent, Mimi's solo. Which is
Oh,
it? Oh God, I'm
oh my
drawing
gosh, Rent. I
from
saw
it.
Rent in New York. Oh,
It really, I saw it in Toronto. I loved it. I don't know
yeah.
why. That's not even like one of my favorite musicals, but her solo, and I can't think of the name of it.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. I off the top of my head, I can't even think of any of the songs in Rent right now.
Neither can I. It's not the popular one that was like on the
I
radio when it
know. Yeah,
came
Rent
out.
soundtrack.
I know it's would you be my candle is the duet that they do that's so
Oh,
beautiful.
yes.
But it's not, I want to like Google it. Can I Google it and
You can
see?
Google it. Yes.
Let me
Out
see.
tonight.
It is out
Outside.
tonight.
Oh, oh my
Yeah,
God.
it is.
Okay.
Me Solo Rent.
Let's see this. I always put this soundtrack on as I work and then I never get anything done. Yeah, I guess you're like too
It's
busy
out
singing along.
tonight. It's out tonight for sure.
Oh my gosh.
I love
Let's
that
play
song
it.
so much. It's such a good like rock star badass like lioness song.
Oh, share. Okay. Oh, no ads. No.
This is from the movie too. It's not as good as from the musical.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like the movie never ever does it quite as I'll stop this. I'll
Yeah.
use in our show notes, I will have the actual
The
musical
musical one, yeah. Because
version.
I mean, I don't mind the movie version, but like, especially the original Broadway cast, which I think is super cool that you got to see it in New York.
Yes.
Oh, I love that one because it was just so new, and I'd never seen anything that was like that kind of show. So it was really,
Yeah.
and the message is so beautiful.
Yes. And I
Right?
think there's just something about when you're singing certain songs and there's like a certain lyrics in it and you're all singing it together, like and even if you're like listening to it, it's just got this extra heart feel to it. Like I did Les Mis in high school.
Wow.
And
Battles in the Clouds and all of the I love Les Mis too. So good. Another one I just cry to from
oh my gosh,
beginning to
yes.
end. It's so emotional.
Because I didn't consider myself an I did only like dance acting, I would say, because I was a bar wench in that for
Okay.
our musical, because when they go in and get what happens to the kid? Jean Valjean goes into the bar to like get the kid from like the barmaid and his like her husband, and then you have to like we all did this like bar wench song on the tables and stuff with like a little
Okay. Yeah,
corset.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that was
Totally
good
remember
times.
that scene.
Yeah, but that song where like, do you hear the people singing this, like that song when like we were all singing that, I was like, that was like some trippy-ish being on stage and singing that kind of stuff, because it's trippy. Do you have a particular performance that is your favorite, that like would you say like, yeah, do you have a performance specifically or a specific show that you were part of that really like, I don't want to say favorite, I would say like has uh that sticks out to you in your memories as being like, when you're like, when it was done, you're like, oh, I would that was like like that was exactly the way I wanted it to go, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few, but the first one I'll go with that came to my mind, and I think it's like a really important message too to share. Um, so I was at a point in my burlesque career where, I'd been doing really well and I was getting booked all the time, and I was like this glamorous showgirl, and I had many years of being DD Starr. But
Mm.
again, DD Starr was only like the light or the stuff that like I really wanted to be. And I was trying to create a new act, and I just any like new costume idea or any like song or anything that came to me, it just felt like I was trying to be something, or I was trying to create an act that was going to get booked. And I
Oh.
would go in it because I just, I needed something new, and I would try it, and I'm like, no, I don't like it. No,
Ah.
this isn't it. This isn't it. And I would kept questioning myself, like, what is this? And it was like, oh, it's because I'm trying to be something. I'm trying to be something for, the producers that are hiring me or the gigs that I work at. And I
And
didn't want to do that.
it's not hitting exactly.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
realized that it was really super cool. All of my acts up until that point were very much me fulfilling my own fantasies on stage.
Mm.
One of the tips that I got, taking lots of classes and stuff when I first started was, to keep the intention of turning yourself on versus trying to be sexy. Because if you're trying to be sexy, it's not sexy.
No.
Right? It's not.
No, it
There's
doesn't
videos
work.
of YouTube, like on YouTube, of me when I first started performing, and I'm trying to be sexy, and I'm like, why do I hate this so much? I hate every second of it, and I can't get it down. And it's like so
Yeah.
old now, and it's still up there. And it's 'cause I was trying to be something. So
Mm.
it's like most of my acts were very focused on my turn-ons, the things that
Mm.
that like tickled my fancy.
Yeah,
That I would
yeah.
get away from that trying to be sexy. I was just gonna play with what my fantasies were.
Yes. That is
Uh,
such a great message though, Dee Dee, because it's like no
yeah,
one can tell you what your own turn-ons are,
no,
right?
no,
Oh,
and I don't wanna define it for myself or anybody. I want it to be this big, beautiful umbrella of everything.
yeah, and I think that's the part of play. I think that our society could and this is a good way for us to come wrap this all around in like a nice little bow in terms of our storytelling today. Just from I do think that the world today could use a lot more of because we're all supposed to go into the age of Aquarius. I don't think it's any coincidence that you are an Aquarius rising, but this idea of each individual person coming into their own light, right? And then in terms of that though, like it doesn't need to be this in this box. It could be something that like literally has not been thought of yet. You need to have the as he's like a safe area, like those who are willing to provide that healthy boundary, that magic circle around them as like as people try to figure out what that is. Try on that persona, try like act it out, see how it feels. No one's gonna laugh at you or judge you or any of that. I'll find some good music for you to even like help activate it. So I think
Yeah,
that you truly are doing such great work out in the world, Dee Dee. And so thank you for coming on the show. I'm going to have you on again in the future. I think I want to have more specific series, like in terms of how to help women really like harness their own power, like their own beauty power, like whatever that femininity is. So, throwing back to you, are there any projects that you're currently working on right now? Is there any where people can find you or help support whatever you're doing? I will throw to you in terms of that.
absolutely, yeah. Well, on, Instagram and all the, like, social medias and stuff, I'm Miss DD Starr.
Yes.
Um, 2 S's, 2 D's, and 2 R's.
I'll
Um,
include all links. I'll get you to send them to me and I'll have them. I'll
thank you.
post it. Yeah.
Yeah, and right now I'm working on a really great show at a really cool venue that I'm going to be launching in September.
Ooh.
So I'm going to be bringing a really amazing modern day vaudeville extravaganza
Wow.
to Palm Springs. So I'm really excited about working on that and developing and co-creating with a bunch of amazing humans in the desert.
I love that.
And I'm always teaching. And I also do, femininity coaching calls. Not everything has to be a dance class per se.
Mm.
I offer it on Zoom as well. So if you're not in California, I love to work with women privately. I feel
Mhm.
like that's where I can really dive in deep and just really hold their hands while they explore their own femininity. So
I
yeah,
love
they can.
that.
My website's missdddstar.com too, so people can reach out to me
Yeah,
there.
so they can reach out to you there and like book a session with you through your
Yeah,
website. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, I think that I can even send you some girls actually as well because I personal train people as
Yeah.
well, right? So
Yeah.
and in that, there's a level of like, yes, you're working on your body, but it doesn't matter if you're like snatched or overweight or if you don't love what you like yourself, it really like it will never be good enough, and you're always going to find something to like pick at and all that kind of stuff. I can't tell you how many times I like look at old pictures, DD, and go like, wow, I actually looked pretty good. I thought I looked awful.
Right.
I thought I
Yeah.
looked fat in that picture, and then you just look back like later and you're like, it's actually you're like playing your own, you're not seeing yourself clearly.
We all have a form of body dysmorphia, whether we're men or women. I'm sorry. I fully believe that 1000%. Even if you're the perfect, Kendall Jenner supermodel
Yeah,
of everything, she even has body dysmorphia. Like, we all
100%.
don't actually see ourselves because we live with so much judgment.
Exactly. And
It's
that's why,
programmed into ourselves. Like, it's not our fault.
oh,
I mean,
it
it's
isn't. It
life.
isn't.
Yeah.
I also wanted to because I do a lot of cosplay and stuff, Didi, I'm gonna reach out to you in the future about this because I've been doing like a show like cosplay and comic books, and I've been getting pretty good traction. I have like 12.2K followers on TikTok. So
Good for you.
yeah. So I
I
would
love your cosplay. You're so good at it.
oh, it's
I'm a
gonna
big
get
fan.
better. But you
Yes.
you have the total vibes of I don't know if you've ever heard of DC's Bombshells.
No.
Oh, girl. Oh my gosh, you literally look like all of them.
Really?
Yeah, so it's Black Canary. So Black Canary is like her mother is an old like 50s uh superhero. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so they're all like I'll send you a bunch of them. Like their cosplay,
Yeah.
you could literally just do it tomorrow because it's your closet probably. And you just have to add like a mask maybe or something.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
please
Yeah,
do.
DC Bombshells, and then maybe we can do maybe like a collab on there where like my superhero Batgirl talks to your superhero Black Canary, and we have
Yeah.
a little like we can play
We can play.
in
Let's have
that.
play dates. Yes, I'm
Yes,
about it.
yeah, yes. And so I will leave all the details of how you can work with DD Starr to unlock your femininity, how to unlock all of that fun goddess vibe stuff. And I will also leave links as to how you can get all of these show details, all the show notes, all the wonderful songs that we talked about in our conversation today, DD. So I am going to stop the recording on this call. Thank you for this conversation. And then I will say goodbye to you in the green room, I guess.
All right.
The
Thank you so
online green
much for doing what you do and embodying femininity and being a part of the revolution.
the
It's super.
revolution, the Bohemian
Yeah.
Revolution, where
Yeah.
truth, beauty, freedom, and love reign.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We're going to log off here. I'm going to stop the recording.
Mhm.